give you some examples. As I said the other night, probably the best thing to do is when somebody gives you some thing that sounds very deep is to take it and apply it back to what he just said, apply it to itself. Like the example I mentioned the other night was there is a philosophy that's widespread. A lot of people think they figured it out for themselves for the first time in history. They say you can't be certain of anything. There is no certainty. When they say that, they're imitating a man who lived about 23 centuries ago, who was probably imitating people who lived before him. His name was Pyrrho, a Greek, who said there is no certainty. You know, that might even be true. But can you be sure? That's what you want to ask somebody who says that. He tells you, look, the reason I don't dabble in religion and that is you can't be sure of anything. I've had people tell me that and I ask them, are you sure? I say, I'm positive. Apply it back to itself. He's so sure that you can't be sure of anything. There's a lot of dead ends like that. There are people who come to me frequently and say, I don't believe in God. You can't prove there is a God. Well, as one man had said about 60 or 70 years ago now, he said people who start off with that statement have already skipped a question. They said God, but what do they mean when they say God? Which God do I have to tell you I believe in? What I always tell people when they say, I don't believe in God, I usually say, which God don't you believe in? Tell me about the one you don't believe in. Probably I don't believe in him either. After you explain him to me, you mean the God that sits on a chair with a long white beard and rolled up his sleeves one day 6,000 years ago and made man and huffed and puffed and had to sit down and rest after that? That's the God you mean? I don't believe in that one. And so on. There's many other ideas that people have. The key question comes before this. What do you mean? You said God. You tell me about this God I'm supposed to defend to you. So it is, in fact, that if you really do not commit excess, if you don't say more than you have authority for saying, the Muslim may find himself in a position sometimes, I have had it happen, when you explain what it is you believe about God, people will say, I thought you had a religion. That's atheism. There's no God there at all. Because that's one of the attributes of Allah. Al-Latif has a shade of meaning in Arabic. It means the subtle. It means whatever you say about God, you must say this. He is Al-Latif. He's so subtle, he almost isn't even there. Because he's so unfamiliar to anything that you might have in mind. Whatever you think he is, well, you're wrong. Al-Latif. A related word is used in Arabic when they talk about the fabric that's gossamer, the kind of, it's fabric, but you can read the newspaper through it. It's one of the attributes of Allah. Very subtle. So, what I'm trying to get at is, you may often be frightened by people who try to tell you, well, religion works like this, and I can figure it out, and anybody who still has a religion today is pretty primitive. The anthropologists don't always tell it that way. The people who study men don't always tell it the story that way. I tell you, in fact, that the most intelligent men have been the ones that maybe we used to think were the most primitive. And the Muslim is in the happy position of not being embarrassed by all that information. The more he hears about the history of religion, the more the truth comes out, the more his iman grows. Because when facts are discovered, they tell him more of what he knew already. I'll tell you one last example of that. A couple of years ago, I finished giving a lecture, and the question very came. Somebody stood up, and he's waving a book in the air, and he says, you Muslims dare not let me read this book. He's trying to challenge. He says, there's information in this book which your ears couldn't stand to hear. So the chairman said, well, I'll give you 2 minutes. Read what you want for 2 minutes. Oh, he was really happy, and he started reading as fast as he could. And what he was reading was the documentation that long before 14 centuries ago, the Arabs used to follow the religion of Abraham, Ibrahim. He was filling in all the details. He said, there's proof in this museum and in that ancient inscription, and you go to this place, you find this and that and all this, saying which professor and which archaeologist found all this information. He read as fast as he could for 2 minutes. Finally, the chairman said, it's 2 minutes. Oh, but he was happy. He thought he'd exposed Islam as being some old thing that was brought back to life 14 centuries ago. And he sat down, and I said, thanks very much. I said, that was beautiful. That makes me happy. Increases my belief. And he was really upset about that. He said, he wasn't supposed to do that. I said, why not? He said, the Quran tells me that since there have been men, there's been Islam, and now you're bringing me proof. You're telling me that Islam isn't 14 centuries old. It's much older than that. That's what I've been trying to tell a lot of people, and they tell me, no, it started with a man 14 centuries ago. Really upset about that. And he said, no. He says, if a religion is a true religion, it will be a new religion. Who says it is telling people what they didn't know before. Which is an interesting idea, because one only has to remind a person of the methods used by Jesus. He didn't tell the Jews anything they hadn't heard before. He told them about the resurrection of the dead, and he rehearsed the stories, and he was always saying, it's written in your book, such and such, and so and so. By this man's own standards, this must have been a fake man, and he was an imposter. He didn't tell them anything new. He told them what they heard before. Tried to remind them of it. It's just a case of, as I say, using what you hear. If your mind is alert, if it's the truth, it works for you, not for anybody else, if your head is clear. So those are some thoughts till now. I thank you for your time and attention, your patience. May Allah bless and reward our efforts.
Please take advantage of this opportunity. Don't let it pass by. Yes, brother.
It's not working. That mic is not on. Probably just I can hear you anyway.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. I should first tell that I am not a Muslim. Sometimes I may become a Muslim, I don't know. Inshallah. But I was born in a Buddhist family. Later I had gone to Italy and I was living with the Roman Catholics. After that I was living in India with the Hindus. And later I read the Holy Quran that was given freely by a certain embassy here. And I don't know to which religion I should follow. Then,
what did you want me to tell you?
The thing that I wanted to ask you is about the revelation. Revelation that you said, revelation, the God is revealed to certain special persons only. Why does not this God reveal to us, all the general people? Then that is a question that I have in my mind. Because if the God is revealing himself to some special people like Prophet Muhammad, Jesus Christ, or Moses, or Isaac, or some other person like Krishna Bhagavan, if not Lord Gautama Buddha, I am asking whether you know the reason why the God does not reveal himself to the simpletons like us.
Yes. All right. To start with, you said professor. I'm not a professor of anything. That means I'm working, and I'm not working these days. I'm not attached to some university. That question shows maybe that when you think of revelation, you're thinking of something maybe different than what I'm thinking of when I talk of revelation. As though revelation was full of secrets. And to the Muslim, it's not. It's not full of